morning. We're back in the tiny house. We have a bright, sunshiny moment here after a bit of rainfall that has now darkened everything. Birds are chirping and it's just a little good little start. There's a change coming, and I want to be very clear to you great folks who have been watching over the past year. I'm in the middle of a 90-day challenge, a 90-day experiment. I'm going to shift from exclusively Urbit edutainment videos, and I'm gonna move over into guitar. It'll be noticeable for sure. I will start to have videos that are attempting to attract people who are lost after beginner guitar. Thumbnails and titles are going to be geared towards attracting those people. Urbit's going to be a part of it. I want to make a business and I want to use Urbit as much as possible. I will be showing my work as I do this over the 90 days and see what compromises I had to make and see where Urbit has its shortcomings. And so there will be videos about Urbit. So I'll make a promise with you, my like 80 people, 100 people, Urbit people. I have a promise with you. Yes, you'll see guitar videos, but I will put the word Urbit inside the title if it has anything to do with Urbit. Even if I have to like shoehorn it in, it'll be in there. That's my promise to you. What's this course? The biggest value that I can give to the largest amount of people is this guitar course. It is honing in on people who have hit a plateau right after beginner guitar. So you decide that you want to learn guitar. You go to the myriad of options of how to learn. You start doing guitar lessons. You end up getting put on these railroad tracks. You're like, okay, I'll learn the string numbers, I'll learn my open chords, my scales, and my pentatonics and whatnot. And you travel down this railroad track and it's like, you're flying. It's all clicks, it's great. The momentum feels so good, it's almost like, oh wow, I can't wait to get to like the horizon, right? I can't wait to see what happens way off in the distance. And whenever you finally pull off at the end of the station, you end up discovering that doesn't end at you being good at guitar. It just ends after beginner guitar. If starting the guitar is over here, getting to be as good as your favorite guitar player is on this other side of a cliff. There's no path forward. Nobody knows the next step to take. There's no clear guidance of this is the next thing to do. The answer that I'm proposing is the guitar is a puzzle and music is a puzzle. And if you clearly define that, the smart people who are able to get themselves through beginner guitar, it'll just like totally click for them. Once you know that, you can just go independently find out about the guitar. If you're one of these people that are lost after beginner guitar, join the waitlist. Down in the description, we'll have the waitlist. I probably have a URL. Let me share my experience back in 2005. And so we'll get a quick little look at our timeline here. When I was little, the guitar was this magical object inside of the closet, and I thought it was off limits. My parents didn't care, but I would go into the closet, I would grab the case, and I'd open it up, and get a waft of that glue and that felt. I'd just look at it and be like, oh my gosh, and then I'd strum it. It felt like it just blew up the house with noise. I'd slam the case down, lock it, put it back in, run away because I thought I wasn't supposed to mess with the thing. And it was just this object that had so much magic to it. I was really attracted to the guitar. And I didn't pick it up until I was 15. And I decided, okay, I'm going to go grab that thing. To learn, I got on the internet, the 2005 internet, and I found that about.com had Guitar 101 course. I just started from there. Learn the notes of the strings, the open chords, the bar chords. I was able to cruise through it. I was like on a high. Am I the best who ever lived? It was just like total flow getting through beginner guitar. The trick is I got to the end. Even though I was feeling good, I compared myself again to the guitar players that inspired me to play in the first place. People like Jack Johnson or Chris Walla from Death Cab for Cutie. I was nowhere near them. There was like a total chasm between where I was and where they are. It was like this unbridgeable gap. Like a completely different skill was required to get over to where they were. And like, I want to zoom in there. My personal solution was to get one-on-one lessons that progressed me into more and more collegiate level music learning. And I pursued that for the next 10 years after picking up the guitar. If you're lost after beginner guitar, you don't have to do that. You don't need to spend 10 years, nor like some of the people that I went to school with, getting $50,000 into debt. If you just want to have guitar like enrich your life, be a friend that's there, something you can pick up and with ease, get into flow, diving deeper and deeper, doing your own self-exploration through it, then that is the course that I'm trying to make. Go to this URL down below. It's just a little Google form. Tell me about yourself. There's a chance to join the beta testing group, which is what the product of the next 90 days is going to be. This kind of is coming out of left field, right? You've been doing these nerdy computer Urbit videos. Guitar? Really? Where's that coming from? Let me go back over the timeline and we'll pull out like a life theme that's been in my life. This parallel story between technologies and the desire of myself to help out the musician friends that I've made in school. When I decided to pick up the guitar and I decided to take one-on-one lessons and then take the next step and take the next step, by chance I ended up finding a place called South Plains College. While I was there, I have more of a technical mindset. I'm much more engineer-brained. And so I was able to do a different track than just music. So even though I was there for music and I had a toe in it, I was doing sound engineering, building up those skills like in the studio. That made me feel like I had this unfair advantage over musicians. So I felt better about my future than 99% of the musicians who were there. It was just seated in the back of my head. Gosh, I should be using my technical skills. I should be using the way that I think to try to help musicians, help them out, because like, that's just not what they're there for. They're not there thinking about business. That's a really rare kind of musician, and especially the best musicians. This is not how they're wired. With this kind of like concern in the back of my head, I was blown away in 2010, 2011, whenever I heard about YouTube. I like saw YouTube and I was like, this is an answer. This is an option. Musicians could actually use this to be able to do what they want to do, have it be on their own terms and not have to follow the standard path. I felt a responsibility to pay attention to that, know how to do it, and be able to like give them advice for it. That's actually quite key. That's where the theme was born. Here's the theme. Help musician friends. Yep, it was born right there. I started to become sensitive to like the idea of pay attention to what's possible on the internet, pay attention to what's happening on technology so that you can fulfill this thing. Fast forward to 2013, 3 out of 4 of the best guitar players and teachers that were there all graduated from Utah State University. I went to Utah State because I wanted to snowboard and be in a beautiful place with the mountains. Wanted to deepen my understanding of guitar, and so I went back to the source of the great guitar players. At that time, there was a thing that came out, Patreon. It was the first time creative people could get a monthly subscription out of followers. So instead of relying on Mr. Ad revenue, trying to make sure their videos were pleasurable to the algorithm and hold people into the platform and boost the desires of that, Patreon made it so that people could find them and then directly support them. After being in Utah and graduating, I ended up moving to Austin, Texas, music capital. This was in 2016. I was living in an apartment by myself, didn't know anybody in Austin. I was just trying to make work work. And I, in my loneliness, discovered a new thing called Twitch. My favorite Dungeons and Dragons podcast was like a companion for me at the time, living in an apartment by myself. But then it started to click. Wow, these people are getting to do their hobby, and I think it's gaining traction, and I think this is going really well. And so I also followed suit, and I started to live stream my own, just kind of dinking around on the guitar, because I thought, hey, this is my chance. I missed the train for YouTube, but with this streaming thing, I think I can make a following, gather eyeballs, and then I can turn those eyeballs over to my musician friends and help them out. So 2018, I moved from Austin to California to help my brother with his business. It ended up being this very startup-like feel, very Bay Area. Eventually, he moved to the other coast, and I was left to my own devices. And I had the question posed to me, like, okay, well, what am I pursuing? What do I want to do? And so the life theme came back. Let's try to help musician friends. We've seen this stuff play out time and time again. It's getting better and better. I believe that this can work out. I just need to show how to make that happen. While I was in the Bay Area, almost inspired by being there, I decided to learn how to code. Using those skills, I was able to make my own website and make a podcast for a thing that I was calling Hang Out with Musicians. Home, I would call it. Right now, you can go to homebase.com. That's the website, recreated. Do I dare? This is now what it is because of Urbit. We've had 2.5 seasons of musicians that would come in. It went like this. I was like, make a Patreon, musicians, and you need content for people to find you and to fall in love with you and want to support you and to feel good about that. And I realized I could also do that. I can make a podcast where we do a long form interview and we can play your music. We can find out who you are. And by golly, I bet you if somebody gets to the end of an hour and a half of listening to you talk, they probably like you a lot. They're probably going to want to join your email list or like support you directly through Patreon. And so I had this game plan to help musicians out. But if you know how to solve somebody's problem, but they aren't seeking a solution, it's not going to happen. The fundamental issue was you can't help people. You can't directly just help people. They have to come to a place where they need something, that they have a pain point and they need to go seek for it. I didn't know that in 2018, and I really tried to make this whole scenario work for a long time. From here up until almost now, 2020 is the time I end up getting introduced to a guy named Justin Murphy and Boiler Urbit. Urbit pops up at this time. California shut down during the pandemic. I just started living out of my car, and that was me driving to a national park. I would get on phone calls with musicians, and we would record podcasts together. They would send me the files, and I would go back into the woods, and I would edit it all. This was my life for quite a while. I was very happy, actually. In trying to make that work, I noticed Justin Murphy leaving the academic world and trying to make independent scholarship, leveraging the internet, a thing. And I saw the parallels there, and I was like, I think I need to get in there and see what's up. And Justin's a very honest and direct guy, and I was very upfront about like what I was trying to do. He definitely saw it immediately that, yes, what you're trying to do is noble and it's well made and executed, but I don't know, man. If you're trying to convince anybody of anything, you've already lost. This is the quote from Justin. I fought that for a while, but he ended up being totally right. You can't help anybody that's not looking for the help. It played out that way for sure. That dissolving of this driving life theme that pulled me through, it was like 10 years of my life. I stubbornly pushed forward. But a little saving grace was Justin Murphy had a podcast episode where Joshua Lehman, the director of the Urbit Foundation, ended up having a nice conversation talking about Urbit. Having gone through all these different internet experiences, the whole goal of Urbit clicked with me. Whether helping musician friends is a good idea or not, Urbit is going to be the next piece of that. It is the future of this. Urbit ended up filling that hole. So while the dissolving of the concept of helping musician friends was slowly happening in the back of my mind, I at least had Urbit to dive into. Almost like learning the guitar in 2005, it just changed the direction that I was going, which has led me to making these Urbit videos. So this timeline, if you can see what I did here, like this is all the different technologies or things that the internet has unlocked and made possible to make creative careers totally viable without any kind of gatekeepers. It starts with just like simple web pages, YouTube and subscriptions and live streaming. It ends with Urbit, where you actually own everything. I'm excited for it. If you want the thing that I believe is the biggest value that I can give right now, join the waitlist. Hear when it's ready and get a chance to be a part of the beta test so I can make it as good as I can before I send it out to everybody. And that is what this 90 days is all for. Start to finish, get that beta test complete. Thanks for bearing on this most awkward pivot. You will see guitar videos. Again, look for the Urbit in the title. Let's see if this works. Bye.